Hello everybody, welcome to another video tutorial by MrYourWilly. Hope you all have enjoyed the tutorial so far. If you haven't seen them, I would strongly suggest you check them out. They are very basic tutorials. This one's going to be a little bit more advanced. For those of you who know how to forge, you might actually learn something on this one if you haven't messed around with the respawns, which is what we're going to be doing. I'm going to explain everything in the respawn toolbar, and in enough detail that you guys should be able to understand it and use them in your own maps. Now let's start off with the very basics here. Go into your object menu, which is X, hit A on spawning, and here's all your spawning objects. Initials are like the guy with the little Spartan there. Those are initials, which means when you start a brand new game, this is exactly where the players will spawn. You set them up to be the team you want. So if you want a game to work where there's a green team, and you want it to work where there's an orange team over here, you got to make sure that you make them team color specific. If it's going to be a free-for-all game, you can go ahead and make them their default color, which is neutral, which is the white one here. But you got to make sure that those are set up, because if you have like a green team, an orange team, and a red team, and a blue team, but somebody when you were saying starting the game chose purple, and you don't have it, they'll randomly spawn somewhere in Forge World. It could be all the way over there on Alaska or Montana, or it could spawn on the island or the pillar, wherever, but it will not be where you want it to start off at. So make sure that you put down the team colors for how many teams you want. Red and blue is usually fine if you're having just 2 teams. I have a map called Farendale. I have up to 4 teams, so I have red, blue, green, and orange, so you can choose between those 4. Another thing that you always want to set up is respawn points. Now, I know a lot of you are probably used to setting up a respawn point like this, which, for those of you who don't know what a respawn point is, this is where if you die for whatever unnatural cause, even if it's chasing a grenade down and killing yourself, when you die, you will respawn here. Now, this is neutral, and for those of you who have messed around or made maps before, this is one of those tricks I was telling you that I would teach you. Most of you probably say, okay, this is where the red team will spawn, so I want a red respawn point. This is where the blue team will respawn, so I set up a blue respawn point. Well, yeah, you could do that if you want, but that takes time and effort, especially when you have somebody like an orange team. You gotta say, okay, respawn point. Okay, respawn point. Well, that takes time because you got to go through the option to click the color and all that. Now, I always go around my map and just put neutral ones. Oh, by the way, I remember now that I forgot to mention this. See that little point at the end? That's where they're looking when they start. This one's really obvious because the Spartan's looking that way with the gun. But if you respawn, you will face this way. So if you want them to respawn over here, it's probably not a good idea to have the arrow pointing there, because, I mean, who wants to respawn looking at this? I definitely would be a little confused. I'd be like, huh? Wall? Okay. I don't live in New York, so why am I looking at a wall when I look out the window? You want to be looking preferably at whatever the main entrance is going to be. That way when you respawn, if somebody runs into the room, you're already looking that way. But back to what I was saying about changing the color. Make them neutral. Why? You can use them for multiple reasons that way. One is, if somebody's setting up a free-for-all, well, you already have the neutral respawn points for free-for-all teams. And if you have like a big map and you set up a lot of respawn points, that means it's really rare that there's going to be spawn killing that happens. So set up them as neutral. Another thing is this lovely thing called respawn zones. You only get 20 of each, but what those do is like I set it up, you see this little area here? Well, when you're in your option menu, down at shape, you can change that to be a box. Obviously, it's going to start off a flat because there was originally no length. But you can set it up to be a box or a cylinder. And then you fill it to the area you want. And then make sure you set it up to the red team or the blue team or whatever team this is supposed to be for. That means if there is a red team and the red team person dies, he will respawn here. He will not respawn over here. Especially if you have another spawn zone that's made for the blue team. So that way you can designate what team respawns where by these spawn zones. Now, that doesn't mean that if a blue team member's here, a red team will not spawn on the other side. That just means when the red team dies, they're more likely to respawn within the red team's respawn zone. But if the whole blue team ends up intersecting and taking over the red team's base, then when they die, the red team will start spawning in the other team's zone. But that's just because the game considers it safer for the red team to spawn on this side because there's so many blue team on that side. That's what the respawn zone weak is for. This means that it's a little bit more forgiving, I guess, in the sense that you can have enemies within the zone and it'll still respawn the red team there, which is usually good if you have a super small map and it doesn't really bother you too much. You can set up respawn zones weak, and the spawn zone doesn't care so much that there's a blue team in the area. The respawn zone anti, though, means whatever team you choose does not spawn there ever. So I could say red team, or I could say neutral. And some of you might be thinking, well, why would you want to change it to neutral? If you put a spawn zone there, don't you want them to spawn there? Not necessarily. I was making a map called Farandel, which if you guys joined my game event, or if it's already on my file share by the time you see this video, there's actually a spawn zone in the ocean because I went to put it on the lip here, or the lip of my map, which was somewhere over there, and it slipped and fell into the water, and I thought, oh, it's in the water, the game will never spawn you there, don't worry. Well, it ended up spawning people in the ocean, so you would respawn in the ocean and die, respawn in the ocean and die, and you would do that a few times until the game felt it was safer to spawn you actually on the map. So I put a respawn zone anti for neutral and covered the whole ocean floor with it. That way that wouldn't happen anymore because the spawn zone was, or the spawn point was way too low for me to delete. So you can use that for neutral in circumstances like what I just had to have happen. Now, another thing that's in here is initial loadout camera. You always want to put these in. I usually wait till the very end when I'm done with my map to put them in, but this is what the player sees when they're starting the game. You know how when you start a game it has like the loadout. Well, this shows what the player sees. So, you know, look at entertaining things. It is not entertaining to look at the floor, but it is more entertaining to look at cool little pieces you put in your map or cool hallways or whatever. And it's also team specific, so these are neutral. That means any team will see them. And it's general, whatever your first camera is what the first camera they see is. And then when the game goes by rounds, it will randomly pick another one. So usually make your first camera the coolest camera you want, and then make the other ones. But they're also team specific, so if you want, you can have the red team looking at the floor, and the blue team you can have looking at the ceiling. And so when the blue team, they'll only see whatever the blue camera shows, and the red team will only show what the red cameras show. And you can have tons of them, and it'll randomly pick them out each round, which floor you want them to see. But it'll only do the red cameras for the red team. Now, down here is a safe area in the kill boundaries. You always want to put a safe area or a kill boundary in your map. The defaults you usually put up as a safe area, and there's two. There's safe and safe soft. Now, you only have 5 of these, and that's because you don't need a lot of them in a map. But for a safe area, like let's put one of these safe areas, what this means is if you're inside the circle or square, because you can make this a square by going under shape and make it a square, but if you're inside this, you're good. If you leave, though, you're technically outside the game boundary, and it will kill you. So that's what the difference is between safe and soft. Soft will count down when you're outside, so you can't see this obviously when you're in game, but if you leave the zone, it'll say 10, 9, 8, you're like, oh no, run back. Hard, which is, it doesn't say hard, but they're usually considered hard or soft, and the normal one is considered hard. If you leave it, it just kills you. You're done. Sorry. Game over. But if you have a soft, it will count down. Now remember, if you have a soft and a kill at the same one, like a hard and a soft, hard will always default. So even if you have a hard one here and you say you want this area to be you leave, you die, but if you go into this area here and you leave, it starts counting down, that will not happen. If you leave, it will kill you because you have one hard on your map. So I always make them soft, just because I like giving people a chance to turn around. I don't like it where you leave an area and you're just dead. Another thing is, see this zone here, it ends about there. Well, if I put another soft one, it will continue. Where they're overlapping, it doesn't matter, but it will continue as long as you're inside of a zone. Kill zone, on the other hand, is, think of the safe zone and flip it 180 degrees. Safe is you're safe when you're in it. Kill is you enter it and it kills you. So you can have a map like this, and this one was a soft, and whenever you're in this area, it starts counting down. And a hard one will just kill you right away, like this one. When you walk in it, you're dead. So what I usually do is I usually use soft kill zone, or I usually use the kill zones more because you have 32 of them. And I usually give people a warning. I usually put a kill zone soft, and then behind it I put a kill zone hard. So when people are walking in, they got, 10, 9, like, oh, I should back out. But if they're stubborn and they don't, and they walk a little further, it'll just kill them. So those are pretty much everything in the spawn section. I hope that helped you all. I know the spawn zones is going to help a lot of people out, because I didn't even know about it until a couple months after I started foraging. I was frustrated because what I did is just put it right there like that. And I'm like, why am I not spawning in here? It's a zone. It's a spawn zone. Well, I didn't realize you actually need the respawn points inside it. And it makes it whatever team you choose this is whatever team the neutrals are becoming. So just remember, spawn zones, and then just put these as neutrals. And that way, when you play free-for-all, you already got respawn points for free-for-all. If you play infection, you got respawn points for the infected and humans. So do that instead of telling them to be team specific. But once again, I hope this all helped you out in understanding everything about the respawn section. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, subscribe. And if you wish to see any of my other tutorials, click the menu button on the right hand side, and it'll bring you to the tutorial menu where you can go to basic, game type specifics and all that, and see any of my other tutorials. I'll be updating that every time I post a new video, so check it often, and I will see you all later.